This happened to me last year when I was living in Phoenix. I had this small apartment on the 3rd floor, nothing fancy. The building was old but cheap, and I needed cheap back then. My neighbor across the hall was this woman named Mrs. Chen. She seemed normal at first, maybe in her 50s, always smiled when we passed each other. The weird stuff started small. I'm talking really small, like I'd lose a coffee mug. Not a big deal, right? I figured I left it at work or something. Then my favorite blue sock went missing from the laundry room. Again, whatever. But then the cheap padlock I kept on my bike disappeared from the stairwell where I chained it up. That's when Mrs. Chen started showing up with my stuff. She'd knock on my door, all apologetic, holding my missing mug. "Oh, Derek, I must have picked this up by mistake when I was doing dishes." Made no sense since we didn't share a kitchen, but okay. Week later, she brings back my sock. "Found it mixed in with my laundry, so sorry." Then the padlock appears on my doormat with a little note saying she found it near the mailboxes. I started paying more attention after that. You know how your brain picks up on patterns? Yeah, that was happening. One Thursday, I came home early from my shift at the warehouse. Usually I got back around 9, but I felt like shit and left at 6. As I'm walking up the stairs, I see the hallway light is on. Never was on that early. Through my door's peephole, I catch this shadow moving past. Quick, like someone was there and then wasn't. Later that night, I'm checking the door chain and it feels loose. Not broken, just looser than I remember making it. Next morning, I'm grabbing my blood pressure pills from the medicine cabinet and there's this long brown hair stuck inside the hinge. Problem is, I'm blonde, have been my whole life. Mrs. Chen has black hair anyway. That freaked me out enough to change my locks. Cost me $200 I didn't have, but whatever. Mrs. Chen noticed right away. Next day, she's at my door asking if I need her to hold a spare key for emergencies. I told her no thanks. Tried to be polite about it. 3 weeks pass and guess what shows up on my doormat? A fucking spare key to my new lock, wrapped in this kid's drawing of a house with stick figures. Like it was some kind of joke. I bought a motion sensor camera from Walmart. Cheap piece of crap, but it worked. Set it up pointing down the hallway. The logs showed movement past my door at weird times. 2 in the morning when I was dead asleep. Noon when I was at work. Always brief, like someone walking by real slow. But the photo that got saved made my skin crawl. Mrs. Chen standing right in my doorway, holding what looked like my coffee cup. Same mug that had gone missing months ago. When I confronted her about it, she just smiled. Too wide, you know? Like her face was stretched. "Oh, Derek, you always forget to lock doors properly. I only help when you need it." The building super found something in her trash later that week. Called me down to show me this tiny piece of paper, folded up real small. It had my schedule written on it. When I left for work, when I came home, what I ate for breakfast, when I showered. Everything about my daily routine, cataloged like I was some kind of science project. I moved out the next month. Still live in Phoenix, but different side of town now. Sometimes I wonder if she's doing the same thing to whoever lives in my old place. Hope they're smarter than I was. Still check my locks twice every night, though. This happened to me about 6 months ago in Tampa. I live in this older apartment complex. Nothing fancy. The walls are thin, and you can hear everything. My neighbor Garrett seemed normal enough when I moved in. Middle-aged guy, kept to himself mostly. Everything started during that big storm in March. Power went out around 8 p.m. and the whole building was dark. I was sitting there with my phone dying when Garrett knocked on my door. He had this huge smile and said his place had a generator running. Told me I could charge my phone and hang out until the power came back. His apartment was warm and bright. He had coffee brewing and these thick blankets everywhere. Made sense that other neighbors showed up too. Mrs. Chen from upstairs, the college kids from down the hall. Garrett kept saying we should all stick together during outages because his place runs on a big battery system. This became our routine. Every time the power went out, we'd all end up at Garrett's. He always had snacks ready and acted like the perfect host. People started calling him the building's guardian angel. I thought it was weird how prepared he always was. but whatever. Then I noticed something strange. After spending time at Garrett's, people would have these small burn marks on their arms, just tiny red spots. When I asked, they'd shrug and say they must have bumped into something. Mrs. Chen mentioned feeling dizzy after staying overnight during that 3-day outage in April. The generator bothered me too. It hummed constantly, even when our power was on. I could hear it through the wall behind my TV. One day, I looked outside and saw these thick cables running from his window into the side of the building. That didn't seem right. That's when the blackouts started happening to just me. I'd be watching Netflix and suddenly wake up on my couch hours later. The city's power reports never mentioned outages on those days. Garrett would always apologize later, saying he'd checked on me because he heard me fall or something. But things in my apartment would be moved around. My coffee mug in a different spot. My keys on the wrong counter. I got paranoid and bought this cheap air quality sensor online. The readings were normal until I used my oven. Then the numbers would spike like crazy. Garrett offered to fix my gas line the next day. He left this metal coil thing taped near where the meter reads. Said it would help with efficiency. The worst part happened last week. I woke up around 3 a.m. from this nightmare about drowning. Garrett was in my kitchen making tea like he belonged there, just standing by my stove in the dark. The kettle had these tiny pieces of tape on it, and when I got closer, the sink drain smelled like motor oil. "You were calling out," he said calmly. "Bad dream." I couldn't speak. He finished making the tea and left through my front door like nothing happened. I checked the locks 3 times, but they were still secure. Now I don't answer when he knocks. He slides meals under my door with these handwritten notes. Yesterday's notes said, "You're safe. I'll take care of you. Don't tell anyone. They worry." I'm moving out next week. Found a place across town. But sometimes I catch him watching my window from the parking lot. He waves like we're still friends. I still don't know what that shit was about, but I'm never living in an apartment building again. I'm Jackson, just a regular guy in his late 20s, living in this old apartment building in Seattle. I've been here about 2 years now, working as a barista downtown. The place isn't fancy, kinda run down with thin walls where you can hear neighbors coughing or whatever, but rent's cheap, and it's close to everything. Anyway, this all started last fall, and I still think about it when I'm alone at night. Let me tell you what happened. Our floor has this neighbor, Earl. He's like the unofficial handyman, always offering to fix stuff for free. Squeaky doors, leaky faucets, even a stuck window in my place once. He'd show up with his toolbox, whistling some old tune, acting all cheerful. "No charge, buddy," he'd say, "just helping out." At first I thought it was nice, saved me money, but he knew everyone's schedules weirdly well. Like, he'd knock when I was out grabbing coffee, but somehow knew exactly when I'd be back. Never wrong. My cat, Whiskers, would hide under the bed whenever he came over. I remember how the floorboards creaked extra loud when Whiskers chased a toy mouse across them late at night. It was kinda comforting, you know? Then, one day after Earl fixed my bathroom sink, my laptop went missing. I tore the apartment apart looking for it. Checked under the couch, in the closet, everywhere. I figured maybe I left it at work, but no. Assumed theft. Pointed finger at him in my head. A week later, I dug into my cloud backups to salvage some files. That's when I found these photos I never took. Blurry, low-res shots. Me asleep on the couch, my front door cracked open just a bit, insides of my drawers all messed up. Angles were tight, like from behind a wall or something. One even showed the baseboard in my bedroom popped off. My heart raced, but I told myself maybe it was a glitch. Dumb, right? I should have called the cops then. Started watching Earl closer. Noticed he timed his fixes weird, like on days my cat was at the vet for checkups, or when I mentioned working late. Once I saw him lingering by my door, toolbox in hand, right after I left for a shift. Came home early that night, and there was this faint whistle fading down the hall. I hesitated, thought about confronting him but chickened out. Instead, I pretended everything was fine next time he offered help. Finally, I manned up and knocked on his door. "Hey, Earl, about my laptop." He laughed, all casual. "Misunderstanding, Jackson. Probably misplaced it. Want me to install a camera? Make you feel safe?" His eyes didn't match the smile. I faked agreement, said sure. He brought over this box. While he was in the bathroom, setting it up, I slipped my old voice recorder in there, hidden in the packaging. Later, played it back. Caught him on the phone. "She leaves her keys under the plant pot at 3. Got it." Wait, she? I'm a guy. Who was he talking about? My neighbor downstairs, maybe? The recording cut off mid-sentence. Last thing was this creak, like an unfamiliar door opening somewhere in my apartment. But I was alone. Took it to the building manager, Mr. Torres. Played the tape. He shrugged, said, "Earl's been helpful for years." Probably nothing. Didn't even listen all the way. I felt stupid, like I was overreacting. That night I couldn't sleep. Heard faint scratching behind the walls, like tools or something. Whiskers stared at the baseboard, fur up. I barricaded the door with a chair, irrational as hell. Now, months later, laptop's still gone. Photos deleted from backups, by me, scared. Earl's still around, whistling. I avoid him, but sometimes catch him watching from his window. Building feels different, quieter. What if he's in the walls? I don't know. Just be careful with helpful neighbors, man. That motherfucker might not be who you think.